Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be continuing from our IMDb web scraper we created in the last video, where basically we set an object in our console and then we add certain details we want from a certain website. So in this case, I've added this code snippet here. I've added it to our snippet section in our dev tools, which I'll show you to do in the tutorial. We can basically just right click, press run. It scrapes the data we need from the website. So in this case, I've got the title, age, duration, that kind of thing. And then if we go into our scraper program, which we make in the video here, I'll paste the data in. And you can see we get our title, Joker, release year. It basically converts this JavaScript object into a HTML table. And then what we can do with this table is I'll create another copy function here. It copies our row to the clipboard. And then we can basically just go into a spreadsheet, it could be Excel, Google Sheets, and it pastes the data like so. Okay, so it's a nice little project. You can do this with any film on IMDb, or you can use any website really. If whatever data you want to scrape, just you can use the methods in this video to do that. So just to show you again, if we go to another page on the IMDb website, it's got Avengers. We run the snippet by pressing play. We can then go into our scraper program, paste a JavaScript object in there, and we get the Avengers Endgame. Again, we can copy and then paste. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay guys, so just to quickly recap on what we did in the last video, we created this bit of code here, which basically scrapes the details from IMDb. So I'm on the Joker page now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to go into our Google DevTools here, select sources, and then in this drop down window here you'll see snippets. Go on add new snippet, paste this code here, and then I'm going to rename this to IMDb scraper. Save that as well. So now, to save us copying this piece of code over every time, all we can do is just come to here, press run, right click, press run, and then we'll have our data. So you can see it's done that. You can also press this little play button down here, which will also run the snippet. So that just saves us a bit of copy and pasting time. Okay, so we're not going to use this anymore. Next thing I want to do in this project is just create like a page where we can paste this data, this object here, into a text area and have our program convert it into a HTML table. And then we're going to be able to copy this data using a function and copy it into an Excel worksheet. Okay, so let's begin by, if we go into VS Code here, I'm going to create an index.html, style.css, and also an app.js. Okay, in that index.html file, I'm going to just do the usual boilerplate. And I'll just say DB scraper for the title. In the body, so let's just link to the style.css first as well. Link style.css in the head section. And then I also want to link to our app.js in the body as well. So we'll say script source app.js. Okay, and then in our body, we also want a text area element. This is going to be where we paste our JavaScript objects, which we take from IMDb. I'm going to give this an ID for now, just JSON input. And then underneath this, we want to add a table as well. So I'll just say table for now. I'll give it a class of movie details. And we're going to leave this table empty for now because we're going to use our JavaScript program to add rows and cells to the table. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Let's open this in Live Server. So we come here, right click on index.html, open with Live Server. And you can see our text area there, so that's great. Right, so next thing we want to do here, I'm just going to close down this console script because I don't need that anymore. I'm going to come into app.js file. And the first thing we're going to do, I just want to select, do my selectors. So we'll say, give us an ID of JSON input. So I'll copy that ID for the text area, and I'll say const text input equals document.query selector, and we'll just say so the ID of JSON input. Okay. Right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create our create table function. So we'll say function here, say create table. Okay. Now the first thing we want to do in this function is grab our data source, so the text we paste in this text area pretty much. So we're going to say let data equals, and we give this a class of so text input. So what we set up here, and we're going to say dot value. Don't know why it keeps doing that. Not node value, just value, like so. And then as we're going to be pasting, so I'll just show you. If we run this snippet, as we're going to be pasting this type of format in here, this is just going to be like a string. So what we need to do is this function needs to be able to pass this into JSON format. So we're going to use the let JSON data equals JSON dot pass, and then we're just going to say data. Okay, so it's going to basically, the program's going to pass this string text in here into JSON format. So now we can just console.log JSON data for now. So just to show what we've got so far, if we come underneath this, I'm going to say text input dot add event listener, and here we're going to listen up for a paste. So when we paste the details into this text area, it's going to trigger this function, and then here we're going to create an arrow function here. So it's going to pass in the paste event, and then arrow function. And here we're going to do a set timeout to ½ second, because we need the text to be placed into the input first, and then give it ½ second, and then we can run the function just so it can read the data properly. So we'll say set timeout, and here we're going to say create table. So it's going to trigger this function we've created down here, and then we just pass in 500 as a second argument, just to say we want this function to trigger ½ second after we've pasted data into the text input. Okay, so let's try that out. So now if we come back to here, I'm just going to run this again, and then if we go to our console, we can see we've got our array, and it's passed our data as well. You can see we have our duration, genre. Okay, so that's all working. Our JSON pass method is working. Okay, so now the next part of this function is we're going to select our table. So we'll say let table equal document. What do we call this again? So in our table we said, give it a class of movie details. Okay, so we'll say document.query selector, and we'll just say movie details. That's great. Okay, so that's basically selected our table, and then the next thing we want to do here is initialize a new array called col, and you'll see why we're doing this in a second. Okay, now we're going to do a for loop basically to go through every single key, or so the title, release year, every single key within our object. So we're going to say for let I equals naught, and then we're going to say whilst I is less than JSON data dot length, and then we're going to say I plus plus to increment the I count each time. And then here we're going to say for another for loop, a nested for loop, and then we're going to say let var key in JSON data I, and then we're going to say under here if col.index of, I'll explain what this code's doing in a second, guys. And then we're going to say key in here again is equal to -1. I'm going to come out of here and we're going to say col.push key, like so. Okay, so what this code's doing here is saying for whilst I is less than JSON data.length, in this case it would only be 1 at the moment because the JSON data, sorry, let me just get the snippet again. Yeah, so the JSON data is actually part of an array at the moment, and it's just the there's only 1 element. So JSON data.length here will be 1, and then we're going to say here for each key in this JSON data, the first index. So for each key, so for example, a title, release year. Then we're going to say if col, which is the array we set here, if the index of the certain key we're looking at is not in the list, this is what this -1 looks out for. So if it equals to -1, that means our key is not in our array we set up here. So if it's not in that array, we're going to push this key to the array. Okay, so if we come out of this for loop, and then we can just do console.log col, and we paste that data back in, you can see now this is our col, and we have each key within the array: title, release year, rating, duration, genre. Okay, so coming after this part, we need to create a table row now. So we're going to say let tr equal table so table is the element we created up here. Table dot insert row, and we're going to insert it at the -1 position, so the very last position of the table, basically the end of the table. And then underneath this we're going to say for another for loop, and here we're going to say for let I equal naught, and we're going to say whilst I is less than our array col dot length I plus again to increment the count, and then we're going to say under here let th for table header equal document dot create element. So we're creating a table header element, and here we're going to say th, and underneath this we're going to say th dot inner html equals col I. Okay, and then after that we're going to say tr dot append child, and here we're going to say th. Okay, let's just try this out quickly. Okay, so what's going on here, you can see now we've got our table headers here. So what's happening is we're saying whilst we're setting a table row variable here, so we're setting our table and we're saying insert row at the last position, and then we're saying we're doing a for loop here. So whilst I is less than our col.length, so it's basically iterating through each element or each element within our array, col array. And it's saying for each of these elements create a table header element, and then we're basically the inner HTML for each of these elements is the heading, so the title, release year, rating, etc. And then we're basically appending these th cells to our table row. Okay, so that's what's going on there. Okay, so then underneath this we now need to just obviously get, so we've got our keys placed in the table, now we just need to get our values appended underneath. Right, so in order to do that, we're going to do another for loop here. So we'll say for, again, for var, let I equals 0, and then whilst I is less than col.length again, I plus plus, and then we're going to say, so within this for loop, we're going to set another table row element. So we'll say tr equals table, again, insert row. And again, we want to insert this at the last position. So we'll say -1. And then underneath this, we're going to do another for loop. So we'll say for let j equals 0. And we're going to say whilst j is less than col.length again. And then we're going to say j++. And then in this for loop, we're going to say var table cell equals tr, so the table row we just created, dot insert cell. And again, this needs to be at the -1 position. And then we're going to say table cell, so the cell we just created, dot inner HTML equals the JSON data. So this is the JSON data we created up here. And we want to take the I, so this is the first index we created up here. And then we want to select the actual key value content. So we'll do another square bracket there, and we'll just say col j, like so. So now, when we paste our data, you can see now we get the title with Joker, released 2019, rating 15, duration. Okay, so that's great, that's all working. I'm just going to style this quickly, so we'll just say table position absolute, top 50%, left 50%, transform translate -50%, -50%, like so. I want to give this a width as well, so we'll say width, just say 80% for now, spread it out a bit. And then I'm just going to come underneath this, we'll say, so we'll set our th for the headers, and what are these elements? Inspect. TD, so we'll say th, TD, and here we'll say text align, center, and we'll give it a border as well, so border 1px solid black, just to make it look a bit neater. Okay, so right, so what we want to do now, so that's all working. Now I just want to create a quick function just so we can copy this data to Excel. Okay, so I'm going to add a button under here. So for now, we'll just come into index.html again. Underneath my table, I'm just going to add, I'll just say div.copy for now. And in here, I just want to add copy table row. Okay, and then let's just style this a bit. I'll just leave that as copy for now. And then if we come here, so I say dot copy, and we'll just say position absolute, top, say 60%, and then write, say 20%. And then we'll just give this a border as well. Let's say width, so 5 rem. Text align, center, and we'll just say cursor pointer as well. Okay, so now what we want to do is come back to our app.js file. I'm just going to add a selector here, so we'll say const copy button equals document dot query selector, and I'll just say copy. Right. So now we're going to need to create the function. What this button's going to do, basically just copy the row, the table row. So in order to do that, we're going to say, come down here, I'll say function, and then we'll say copy table, and then here we're going to say var text area. So what we're going to do first is create a text area, because we're going to need to select our table row, take the text, create a temporary text area to copy our table row to copy it in Excel format. So what we'll do is say var text area equals, not var, sorry, let text area equal document dot create element. Here we're going to just say text area. Then underneath that, we're going to say text area dot ID equals, for now we'll just say temp element, because it's just going to be a temporary text area. Okay. And then we're going to say underneath that, text area dot style dot height equals null, because we don't want to be seeing this text area at all. It's just purely to copy the data to our clipboard. Okay, and then underneath that, we're going to say document.body.append child. We'll say text area to append it to the actual body. And then what we want to do after that is say text area dot value equals document. So let me just come back here a second. We'll run this. Okay, and then if I inspect this, I just basically want to get this row here with our movie details. So we'll say that'll be this row here. So we'll say copy JS path, and I can paste that in here. So the value is this row, and we're going to say dot value, no, dot inner text, sorry, like so. And then coming back underneath that, we're going to then set a new selector. So we're going to say let selector equals document dot query selector, and we're going to grab this temp element we created up here. So we give this text there an ID of temp element. So we'll just say query selector temp element, and then underneath that we're going to say selector dot select, which is a method used to select the text within this element. Selector dot select, and then we're going to say document dot exec command, and here we can just say copy. So this will basically select our table row, and then we use this exec command to copy the data to our clipboard. And then after that, we can say document dot query selector. And again, I want to say temp element. And then once that's copied to clipboard, we want to remove this element from our screen because I don't want to be seeing that anymore. And then finally, we'll just do an alert saying data copied to clipboard. Okay, so now what should happen is if we go to our, we need to just add this copy function to our copy button. So we'll say copy button dot add event listener. We'll just say click for now, and then we'll say copy table. Okay, so I've saved that. Let's go back here. We'll run our snippet again. Come in here. Okay, seems to be a problem. Okay, doesn't really seem to be showing me where my issue is. We say, oh, it's here at line 56. Oh. Right, let's try that again. Okay, so now if I press copy, you can see we've got our data copied to clipboard. Now if I come into our spreadsheet, yeah, you can see we can paste the data into our spreadsheet like so. Okay, so that's just basically an overview of how we can convert JSON data into a HTML table and then copy the data into an Excel copy the data to the clipboard and then paste into Excel as well. So cheers for watching that, guys. Sorry it's a bit rushed, and yeah, it's quite a lot to explain in a short amount of time, but yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you for the next video.